very good morning to each and everyone watching Mama Gasabo television. Thank you for being with us. Again to be with me, Kamikaze Gislen. Now let's kick off with the news headlines. Rwanda accuses UN experts of bias and supporting Fdlr terrorist group. Rwanda progresses in Antenatal, but gaps remain. On the international news, South Africa, protesters condemn US attack on Venezuela. Now let's take a short break to be back on the news details. Welcome back. The situation is in Rwanda. Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe, has accused United Nations experts of bias and of siding with the Fdlr, a terrorist group operating in Eastern Democratic of Congo. The remarks follow the release of a UN expert report on December 30, 2025, covering security developments in the DRC between January and October. The report places significant blame on the AFC M23 alliance, which controls parts of the North and South Kivu, accusing its fighters of displacing civilians and restricting access to farmland. The experts also suggested that attacks targeting the Fdlr are affiliated civilians, particularly those of Hutu ethnicity, could amount to war crimes or crimes against humanity. Ambassador Nduhungirehe rejected these claims, arguing they are meant to downplay crimes committed by the Fdlr. He accused the experts of fabricating information while ignoring hate speech, genocide ideology, and attacks on civilians in Eastern DRC. He further called on UN member states to ensure their funds are not used to support criminal activities in the region. Moving ahead, new data shows Rwanda has made progress in antenatal care, but experts say more must be done to reach full coverage. Despite highlights of women accessing at least one skilled visit, many still fall short of the recommended numbers of checks, and the rate attendance remain common. Health officials say barriers such as distance of facilities, limited awareness, and social factors contribute to gaps in timely, adequate care. To achieve full coverage, authorities are urging expanded community outreach, improved transport access, stronger health education, and increased support for women to attend all recommended visits. Integration of family planning and early pregnancy detection are also key priorities. The Ministry of Health continues refining policy and services to ensure all Rwandan mothers receive life-saving antenatal care. Turning to the next story, residents of Nyagatare sector, Nyagatare district, have welcomed the construction of a 2.5-kilometer asphalt road linking Nyagatare town to Murambi village, citing improved livelihood and job creation. Local residents say the project not only reduced isolation, but also provided much-needed employment. Workers report earning income that helped them pay off debts, buy food, acquire livestock, and support their families. Some parents say the wages enabled them to pay school fees and meet children's education needs. Nyagatare District Deputy Mayor Matiko Gonzague said the 2.9 billion Rwanda franc road project is being implemented under the Phase 4 of the Rwanda Urban Development Project RUDP 2. He noted that such infrastructure projects are central to Nyagatare's growth as a secondary city, supporting Kigali, while also creating employment and boosting local economic development. Now let's take a short break to be back on the international news.
Abakiri uzababonera mu byo barya. Ku ifunguro rya mu gitondo uzasangamo ibiribwa nk'amagi, kurya saa sita na nijoro usangamo ibirimo inkoko, ariko cyane cyane kuri konte ye uzasangaho amafaranga menshi. Ibi bintu byahoze bigoye kubigeraho kandi bigenewe bake cyane. Hari kera tutaramenya NCGR Limited, sosiyete nyarwanda ifite ituragiro ry'inkoko za Tetra Super Harco, ubwoko bw'inkoko zitanga amagi n'inyama byinshi mu gihe gito cyane. Isaki igira ibiro biri hejuru ya 2.5 mu byumweru 12. Buri imwe itera amagi arenze 230 ku mwaka. ni inkoko zidapfa cyane kandi ziba ahantu hose. Iyo itera irya garama zitarenze 145 z'ibiryo, ibituma idahenda mu kuyorora. Ukeneye gushora imari mu bworozi bwa Tetra Super Hardcore, hamagara cyangwa wandikire NCGR Limited kuri 0796 09 6607 cyangwa wandikire email kuri info@ncgrlimited.com.
Welcome back. On the international news, voicing their anger over the U.S. capture of ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife Claude gathered outside the U.S. embassy in the South African capital. Sandra Tumukunde has more to this story.
Let's start with international news in Africa. Voicing the anger over the US's capture of ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife Claude gathered outside of the US embassy in the South African capital. The demonstrations were led by the members of the South African Communist Party, which has condemned the US President Donald Trump's action and is arguing Maduro's immediate release. According to Venezuela's Interior Ministry, 100 people were killed in the US attack on the country, during which Maduro was seized by US forces. The military operation has drawn widespread criticism and sparked a wave of protests in the US and further afield. Turning to our next story, tension over US President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown laws across the United States on Thursday after the second shooting involving immigration officers in 2 days, pending rifts between state and federal officials over how and why shooting occurred. Protests intensified in Minnesota following Wednesday's fatal shooting of 37-year-old mother by an immigration and customs enforcement officer. Minnesota and U.S. officials offered starkly different accounts of the shooting, and state investigators complained they were shut out of the federal inquiry. In both cases, Democratic mayors and governors demanded the Trump administration withdraw federal officers who have been deployed largely to Democratic-led cities, in moves approved of by many of the president's supporters after Trump's campaign on promises to deport undocumented immigrants. Democratic and civil rights activities have decried the aggressive enforcement operation as an unnecessary provocation. Now, concluding our international news, the Venezuelan government has started releasing detainees considered political prisoners by human rights groups in what officials described as goodwill gesture. Spain's foreign minister said 5 of its nationals had been released. Among them is prominent Venezuelan Spanish rights activist Lucio San Miguel. Her family confirmed to U.S. media. The move comes after the U.S. seized Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro in a lightning raid on the capital Caracas on Saturday to first drug trafficking charges in New York. The release of political prisoners in Venezuela has been a long-held U.S. demand, especially during moments of heightened repression around the elections or protests. George Rodriguez, the head of Venezuela's National Assembly and the brother of its interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, announced on state television that a significant number would be released immediately without specifying the number or the type of prisoners being freed. Hundreds of political prisoners are detained in Venezuelan prisons, with only a handful thought to have been released so far. This is the end of our international news. My name is Sandra Tumukuna, and this is Mama Urwagasalo TV.
As we come to the end of the news edition, let's remind you of the top stories that we talked about. Rwanda accuses UN experts of bias and supporting Fdlr terrorist group. Rwanda progresses in antenatal care, but gaps remain. On the international news, South Africa protesters condemn US attack on Venezuela. Now this marks the end. Stay tuned.